Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Anton Warrenchuk in Baltimore. And now joining us to give an update on some of the political events going on in Congo is Maurice Carney. Maurice Carney is the executive director and co-founder of Friends of the Congo. He has fought alongside Congolese human rights activists for nearly 20 years in their pursuit of peace and justice in the Congo. Thanks for joining us, Maurice.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Anton.
So about a month ago, Secretary of State John Kerry was in Congo, and he was urging President Kabila to limit his presidency to 2 terms and to make way for a new presidential elections. Give us an update on that.
Sure. President Kabila was elected in somewhat democratic elections in 2006 for a 5-year term, which was up in 2011. And on the dawn of the 2011 elections, he changed the constitution to facilitate his maintenance in power, because over the first 5 years of his being elected, he was an unpopular president that did not really improve the condition of the Congolese people. So he changed the elections, the constitution in 2011 to facilitate his access to power. And the 2011 elections in November of 2011, he basically appropriated those elections. It was fraudulent, clumsily stolen by the Kabila regime. And the United States backed those elections. So since that time, in 2011, we've had a government in Kinshasa, the capital of the Congo, that has lacked legitimacy, and however, had received the stamp of approval from the United States and other Western powers. Now, the next elections that are to take place are in 2016, and according to the Constitution, Joseph Kabila's second term ought to be his final term in office. But as we've seen, the Kabila regime, its aim is to maintain itself in power. And the United States has come out early in stating unequivocally that it doesn't support the continuation of Joseph Kabila in power and the changing of the constitution for him to do that, which is interesting because from the outset, the United States has been on the wrong side of history in the Congo. Congo's first democratically elected leader in Patrice Lumumba in 1960 was overthrown by the CIA. And not just that leader was overthrown, his entire party was removed from power, and a dictator was imposed on the Congolese people by the United States and Joseph Desiree Mobutu. In fact, the State Department just earlier this year released or published declassified documents that looks at U.S. covert action in the Congo from 1960 to 68, which reaffirms the role of the CIA in aborting the democratic process in the Congo. So for the last half century or so, the United States has been mainly responsible for setting back democracy in the Congo. So for them to come out now and say that they support the democratic process, they support the Congolese constitution that calls for the president to step down, is an important symbolic step, and one that we must watch closely, especially considering the U.S. history in being on the wrong side of democracy in the Congo.
So in whose interest would it be for Kabila to have a 3rd term? Would it just be the associated political forces that are close at hand with him that would want a 3rd term, or are there other political elites or economic interests that would indeed have an interest in having Kabila run for a 3rd term?
There are at least 3 major entities that would have an interest in Kabila remaining in power. Certainly, the coterie of elites around him, who have been feeding off the trough of the state at the expense of the Congolese population at large. That's one group that is particularly interested in his remaining in power. A second is neighboring countries that have had their way in the Congo, especially Rwanda and Uganda. Since Joseph Kabila has been in power, they've been able to do as they wish for all intents and purposes. And if not for mobilization in the international community, the global community, um, you know, Yoweri Museveni, the president of Uganda, is worried, or his would be even more true, where he says Congo is like a banana plantation where you can go and get what you want. So neighboring countries would certainly like to see a weak, inept leader such as Kabila remain in power. And then you also have corporate elites, multinational corporations and individuals. Kabila has provided unfettered access to Congo's riches for multinational corporations. You have American corporation like Freeport McMoran, for example, has mining concessions, have the largest copper reserves in the world in the Katanga province, where the Congolese government doesn't have more than a 20% stake in those mines. You have Canadian corporation like Banro that owns 100% outright mining concessions of gold in the east of the country. You have Israeli magnate Dan Gertler that Bloomberg News said is made up to $2.5 billion or more by virtue of his access to President Kabila and his getting sweetheart deals, whether we're talking about in the diamond sector or the mineral sector and copper and cobalt, or even in the the oil sector. Dan Gertler is omnipresent when it comes to the economic landscape of the Congo and predatory practices that benefit big business. And then of course you have foreign governments in Europe and Canada and U.S. where their corporations get sweetheart deals. So he's been good for the West. He's been very good for the West, but he's been very bad for the Congolese people.
Maurice, let's pivot quickly to another topic. In the eastern part of Congo, the border share between Rwanda and Congo, there have been clashes. Clashes have broken out between Rwandan and Congolese troops. What's that about?
Yeah, I mean, there's been Congo has been the victim of aggressive neighbors. Rwanda and Uganda have invaded the Congo twice in 1996 and 1998, which triggered the deaths of millions of Congolese. Even when they pulled their troops back officially as a result of peace agreements, they've supported proxy militia inside the Congo. And most recently, the vaunted M23 was backed by Rwanda that displaced 1 million Congolese and wreaked havoc in the east of the country. So Congo has been the victim of aggression on the part of its neighbors who sought its mineral riches and sought to have undue influence in its politics and security in the east of the country. So what we saw today is a dust-up between the Rwandan military and the Congolese military along the borders of Rwanda and Congo. And to the chagrin of many and really preposterous postulations on the part of the Rwandan foreign minister, Louise Mushikiwabo, claiming that Rwanda is the victim of aggression from the Congo, which is outrageous, considering that Congo has never invaded Rwanda. Congo has never sought to control anything in Rwanda, but it's been the opposite. So we need to watch what's happening along the eastern borders closely. The Rwandan government is on the greatest scrutiny on the part of the world media and the so-called international community. So it hasn't been able to have carte blanche in the Congo as it has had in the past. So it may be maneuvering to assert itself and attain some of the influence or regain some of the influence that it has lost in the east of the Congo. It's something that we need to watch closely.
Okay, Maurice Carney, thank you so much for that update.
All right, thank you.
And thank you for joining us on the Real News Network.